Hey guys, Damron here. In today's video, we are going to chat about how to eat for your menstrual cycle. You can actually eat certain foods to support each phase of your menstrual cycle to make it a little bit more regular and less symptomatic. If you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, hit that button to be notified anytime I post new content related to women's health, hormones, and holistic health. So first I want to just chat about the menstrual cycle. I think that a lot of women, rightfully so, we've never been taught these things really, don't even know what's happening in their menstrual cycle. And so I think that it can be helpful to understand that because there's women who have symptoms around their period, around ovulation, around like the PMS week before the period starts, and it's helpful to know what's happening, and that also will help you get the treatment that you need as well. So the first phase of the menstrual cycle is called your follicular phase, and this is days about 1 through 5 of your period, and it lasts about 3 to 7 days. In this phase of your menstrual cycle, your estrogen and progesterone, which are two sex hormones that kind of rule or dictate the menstrual cycle, get really, really low. They basically bottom out so that your lining can kind of slough off and you bleed, which is your period. So the next phase in our menstrual cycle is still in that follicular phase, but it's days 6 through 14, and this lasts about 11-ish days or so. Estrogen is on the rise in this phase because it's gearing up for ovulation. So in this part of the cycle, so many women feel like they're kind of like, they feel the best of their cycle. They kind of feel like estrogen's an energy supplement. We feel clear-headed, we sleep well, we feel the best energy that we have. We feel maybe more extroverted. We feel ready to kind of take on big projects. We feel good. Most women after their period feel the best that they're going to feel. And then we have what's called the ovulatory phase, which is around like the mid part of your cycle, usually around days like 15 to 17, but it can vary. It can be as early as about day 10 and can go way later than that around, days even 18 to 20. We really want to have about an equal follicular and luteal, which we'll talk about here, phase, so that they're about the same, but ovulation can kind of shift based on the length of your cycle. In the ovulation phase, basically what's happening is your egg's releasing to be fertilized. When your egg is released, this is going to trigger your body to say, okay, cool, we might be pregnant, so let's really bump up this estrogen and progesterone super high in case we're pregnant to support this growing embryo. So estrogen and progesterone are on the rise, and again, we should feel pretty decent. We shouldn't feel a bunch of symptoms. We shouldn't have a bunch of spotting. We shouldn't feel bloated and gassy and headachy and irritable and acne and those types of things. This is not necessarily a normal part of what's happening. That's more when these things are imbalanced. But ovulation is what triggers this progesterone and estrogen to rise, which is what we want to happen. And then we get into the luteal phase, which is kind of like that post-ovulation phase. And the luteal phase is, after ovulation to the start of your period. And this, like I mentioned, is when your progesterone and estrogen stay pretty high to determine if you're pregnant and they keep staying high, or if your body's like, nope, didn't fertilize an egg this month, got to gear up for the next cycle. Those hormones by the end of the luteal phase, right before you start your period, are going to plummet back down. And this withdrawal of hormone can be what triggers a lot of symptoms for women like migraines or spotting or mood swings or anxiety. There's a lot of different things that this kind of like drop or plummet in hormones can cause. There also is a simultaneous withdrawal of hormones right before we ovulate with estrogen. So some women notice a lot of spotting, mood things, headaches, even around the ovulation time period. And they're like, well, it's not my period. I shouldn't be having PMS, but it can be a withdrawal of estrogen around ovulation too that can sort of trigger a similar response to the PMS time. I told you guys that we're going to talk about what do we eat for each phase of the cycle in this video. I'm also going to do another video in the future about exercise because there are certain things that we kind of feel like doing with our menstrual cycle at various points, and certain times to really push ourselves and exercise, and certain times to maybe just take, a leisure walk or do more yoga or bar or like a little bit less intense exercise. So in the menstrual part of your menstrual cycle, the first like days 1 through 5 when you're actively bleeding, we really want to focus on like iron-rich foods because we're bleeding, we're losing all that iron. We want to make sure that we're replenishing that. And so we want to do things like red meat, dark leafy greens, and we also want to get vitamin C in because that's how we absorb iron well. So things like red peppers, fruits, kiwis, citrus fruits. Those are all great things to have in that time. Other options can be like bone broth is a great one to eat too, nourishing soups and stews, things that are going to just have a ton of micronutrients in there to really boost up your nourishment, your iron, all the things that you're losing when you're actually having your period. In the follicular phase, so after you kind of end your period, in the phase that you're kind of gearing up for ovulation, that second week of the cycle, we really want to start eating things like healthy fats. So like salmon, avocado, chia seeds, flaxseed, avocado oil, olive oil, all of those great healthy fats can really help support ovulation. And then we also want to eat cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, kale. Those things are going to help detox that estrogen. Remember I said that before ovulation, your estrogen level gets really high and then you ovulate and then it comes back down right before ovulation, I should say. It drops and then we ovulate. And so you want to make sure that you're eating cruciferous vegetables because that can help create a healthy detox of that high estrogen. Sometimes when we have too much estrogen, it can create things like migraines or bloating or water retention or breast tenderness or mood swings, those types of things. And so we want to eat those cruciferous vegetables because it helps your liver detox that estrogen really well. And then we start getting into the luteal phase, which is kind of like ovulation to the start of your period. So in the luteal phase, again, keep going with those cruciferous vegetables because we want to be able to detox that estrogen at that point in time too. A lot of like PMS formulas, for example, and like herbs will have something called sulforaphane in there, indole 3-carbinol, or even like broccoli sprouts, which help you basically to detox that estrogen from all the symptoms that I just mentioned. So making sure that you're getting in plenty of fiber. There's a big push for like raw carrot salads right now. As long as you're getting in fiber, that's what we're looking for because that'll help kind of get that estrogen through your large intestine as well. That's how we, the end result of excreting that is through our bowel movements. So get in that fiber, get in all of that, good quality cruciferous vegetables with all those nutrients in there as well, and you should feel much better. Other thing that you should focus on in the luteal phase and really all the way around is just eating balanced, nutritious meals. So getting in your protein. Protein's the raw material for neurotransmitters, which if you're having mood swings, anxiety, panic attacks, things like that, that can mean that your neurotransmitters are impacted when you have that drop in hormones by the end of your cycle. So eating good quality protein with amino acids can be really helpful. And then also eating like serotonin boosting foods like pineapple, nuts and seeds, eggs, those are all great options as well. Okay, so what shouldn't you eat? In my opinion, I don't do a lot of like, you should never eat this because I think that it sort of contributes to overeating and binge eating and the diet culture and deprivation and scarcity with food. But if you want some things to maybe cut back on in that luteal phase, kind of like before we start our period, watching your intake of highly processed, like nutrient devoid foods and alcohol can be really helpful. Alcohol, remember, is going to be like a toxin that's going to sort of like invade your liver and make it have to process that first instead of processing things like estrogen out. And so if you want something to focus on, switch over to like a non-alcoholic type wine or like an adaptogenic type of drink or kombucha or sparkling water. There's all kinds of different like wine alternatives and non-alcoholic options for mocktails and things like that that'll make your neurotransmitters, your hormones, your cortisol, your stress response, your estrogen levels, your liver, all these things much, much happier. So switch over to some non-alcoholic versions. If you're really struggling with PMS, it can make a huge difference. I hope this was helpful for you guys. Like I said, I'm going to do a video all about exercise on this topic as well, because like I mentioned, there's times that we feel like pushing ourselves super hard and can really get going with those HIIT workouts and heavy strength training. And there's times when like a more yoga, leisure walk, bar class, those types of things might feel better for us. So be on the lookout for that as well. If you don't know, I have a signature digital course called Heal Your Hormones Masterclass, which talks about all these exact things. There's something called seed cycling, there's exercise, like I mentioned, there's food and nutrition, all the information for healing your hormones from things like irregular periods, PCOS, PMS symptoms, spotting, breast tenderness, all the annoying things that we get with our period. I have a course that comprises all of it and will give you exactly what you need to know based on what you're dealing with. So you can go check that out at alliedarman.com/heal. It's on a big discount right now on that link. There's no coupon code necessary, but I would love for you to check it out. And if you're wanting to heal your hormones, this is a great option for you. If you have not subscribed yet, hit that button to be notified anytime I post new content related to women's health, hormones, or holistic health. I'll see you guys in the next one.